Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Digital Journey podcast. Myself and my co-host, Brandon Schaefer, are really excited to get into it this week. Brandon, how's everything going?
Oh, dude, it's going great, man. We did some last-minute lighting settings here and stuff. It's been a super busy day, man. I've been running all day. It's always good to catch up. I always look forward to these sessions. We got a great guest on tonight, and I'm looking forward to really learning a lot more about Jeff and his company and what he does. I've done some research preliminary, so as you usually do a great job, I'm sure you'll guide us through exactly where we need to go. So looking forward to you taking over.
Certainly. No, I think tonight's going to be a great episode. Of course, we have a new guest as we do on every bi-weekly episode, but tonight we have a new product, a new industry that is exploding that some of you may be following yourself, or you may not be aware of what's really taking place. So I'm very excited to dive into that. We've also made a bunch of updates on the website as well, Brandon. So we'll keep sending people there. We'll have more and more content, guides, guests, giveaways, all the G's for the community.
That's right.
So very excited about that. Little disclaimer is above this. Today, we're going to be focusing a little bit more on the cannabis industry, whether you consume or you don't. It's an extremely interesting place, a lot of great products, and today we have one of the first and forefront innovative products. So we're very excited to bring it to you. And again, whether you consume or you don't, I think you'll find their journey and their product extremely interesting. So before we jump into introducing the guest, Jeff, today, we actually have a nice promo video of the company to help give a nice overview, and then we'll be sure to dive in from there. So enjoy and have a quick. Welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much for joining us today. It's really great to have you on.
It's good to be here. Thanks.
Of course.
I didn't
afterwards, we're going to. I was going to ask, did it come through? Because I could hear it on mine. I think it might have went in. It said it was playing, but we'll have to put it in the comments as well and make sure everyone can play it all the way through.
Yeah, we will.
Sure.
Awesome. So Jeff, of course, before we dive into DynaVap and the journey of the company and the unique technology that you guys implement, into each one of your products, we just want to, we like to bring it back, let people know a little bit more about yourself and the journey that you went through, to be where you are today. So maybe if you just want to give us a little overview of, what was the journey before you got to DynaVap and, what led to working with that company today.
Yeah, basically it was about 30 plus years of working in corporate America. Supply chain, major CapEx, the whole plan, source, make, hold, move type process. Every basic touch point of that supply chain. So kind of well versed in that, mostly in a lot of the CPG, food and beverage type products, as well as got into light side support in manufacturing, inbound production, which was kind of cool. But after too many organizations, I decided to get out and try to find something fun. A buddy of mine's brother-in-law started up DynaVap, and sure enough, here I am 3.5 years later.
That's amazing. No, that's amazing. And I know, of course, the manufacturing industry and the supply chain as a whole right now is, going through a bit of challenges. So just overall, the view of where it is today, What do you think some of the biggest challenges are for most of these small to medium-sized companies that are just getting started?
It's got to be product to market. Really, if you look at the driver shortage in the supply chain, that's the big speed bump. We're not having any issues ourselves, fortunate enough, outside of labor. But if you look at the big picture, the number one issue is driver shortage, getting product to end use. That's the biggest issue.
Very true. And I know it's a lot too in the last mile delivery, right? Servicing close customers and competing with, that the premium customer experience and the new demands that, keep coming and growing as well, as we get more inclined to same day delivery, right? And the personalization of those shopping experiences. So I definitely agree with you there. Leading into the cannabis industry as a whole, their supply chain can be challenging, whether it comes from, just the overall management of it, but of course, on the compliance side and things like that as well. So I'm just curious, of course, as you started your journey and applied your expertise to DynaVap, what were some of the, main challenges with just setting up their supply chain and managing with some of the regulations?
It's interesting. Cannabis is still a industry that's a child. Compliance hasn't gotten on board. Big box retail isn't beating us up to, conform and not charge back and so forth. Cannabis has got so much farther to go. Right now, we were at MJ Pack this past week, MJ Biz, and my gosh, there's every business, every support function of any other business out there, whether it be, PC, security system, everybody is involved and everybody's grabbing onto a piece of it. But there's so much more that we have to progress in manufacturing, such as a small company like ours. Technology is a pain point. Optimization, inventory management, material flow. Those things seem to be a pain point for us. We're getting better, but the knowledge to actually say or realize that you need this to move forward, getting there. We just haven't gotten there yet. We're still having too much fun.
Well, that's what it's all about. Fun and good demand, and you keep fighting your way and chipping away at the core challenges.
Yeah, it's a gas. It's
Definitely. And I think, obviously the cannabis industry, those that, are involved in it, like you said, from, one of the variety of angles, there's really like 5 core buckets to it, to my understanding, and the customers that we work in the space. And of course, it kind of falls under the research in the labs, right, which are more on the actual cannabinoid side and, doing the research and developing, new strains and new types of products. Then you have the cultivators, which are more the source of the raw materials and supplying that to the manufacturing facilities and the distributors. And then, of course, we have the retailers and the consumers. So I know it's a fast growing space, a lot of great products, coming out from hemp and CBD, right, and all the alternatives that can come from the plant itself. But of course, when it comes to DynaVap, you guys are all focusing on the consumer experience, correct?
Yeah, we're B2C and B2B. We're after everybody in this space that can utilize our product, whether it's the vertically integrated folks, the seed to sale, the Curaleafs of the world, on down to the mom and pop shops, your online retailers, and your multi-state operators.
Definitely. No, that makes a lot of sense. And obviously, as you guys started your journey and you've been developing more and more products, there's a lot of people that are starting to look at the cannabis industry, seeing that it's growing, right? There's more and more in the news about where the government may go and the regulations. And obviously now there's, several public companies as well, that people are following and have interest in. So what advice would you have for somebody that, maybe wants to create a new product and try to enter the space in one way or another?
As I think it's a great space to get into. There's a small HVAC air handling company in Wisconsin that has just boomed in the last 3 years. There's another small security company that has just tamed. There's so many little things, lighting. Look at Scott's Miracle Grow. They actually have created a division solely to support the. So as you can see, there's so many points of entry. We were fortunate to grab a space, thermal extraction devices, where there really isn't anybody there. And I think we're going to be alone there for a while because we have such a quality product.
That's great. Yeah, no, there is, like you said, the interesting part about the cannabis industry is it needs a lot of the same infrastructure, of course, as most businesses. And there is so much opportunity for people that are running a successful business to really find a new way to apply their skills and their talents, to that industry where it's just growing so fast. And there's a lot of people, like you said, they're youthful companies. They may have a great product, they're growing fast, but they're still trying to, keep the wheels on and build the whole business all at the same time. And they could use the support of those, seasoned entrepreneurs and businesses coming into that space and just gaining an understanding of what they need.
Yeah. Companies like yourself, sorry about the plug there, somebody that can lead and optimize processes, that's huge. Money seems to, just kind of leak out of the building. That plus your material flow, understanding how to optimize that material flow, receive it from the time you get it lined, from the time the finished product comes off, duration or post production into warehousing, and then picked and fulfilled. I mean, there's so many touches any of us can take out of that movement.
Certainly. Well, I won't disagree with you there. No, you're right. I mean, across the whole supply chain, it's always the incremental improvements too. You don't always have to re-engineer the entire process, but you can find those ways to, empower your people with the right tools, or, find ways to optimize the existing systems or just the processes, which all, change at scale as well as the companies continue to grow. And that's where some of the challenges often come in. So Brandon, don't want to keep you too quiet over there for too long. But, focusing on the cannabis industry, and just curious, from your insights, have you been doing any work in this space, or, what is just your view on, where the industry is going to go and kind of where we are today?
Well, I'm impressed with Jeff. I know like I said before, when we first started, I'd already done some, some preliminary research and stuff like that about the company and everything else. And I think now I don't have any data to back this up, what I'm going to say, but I think when the whole industry kind of started out, it was kind of like the Wild Wild West. And now we're starting to see a transition to people that really know what they're doing, right? Like Jeff, he's an experienced person. He's got 30 plus years experience, production, food, all different types of stuff. These are the types of people that we're starting to see get hired or start their own companies, and they have that expertise, and it's going to be a game changer. I mean, that's the bottom line, because you don't have a bunch of cowboys running around, or cowgirls, whatever. You have experienced people that know how to move products and get products seen and get products bought and stuff like that. So I'm excited for the space. I mean, I know there's a lot of I know, like my mom has a cigar shop. I know I've mentioned this for years. She's had a cigar shop in a small town here that does a lot of business. She's done it forever. She was one of the first people in Pennsylvania to put in for a dispensary license, and she actually didn't get the actual. She wasn't awarded the license. There's a bunch of different stuff, but she did put in the application. I think it was like $35,000 or $40,000 for the application and so forth. I think they had 90 people put in that application, so you can see, or not. I don't know if it was individuals or companies or so forth, but you can see the type of revenue and the push that's going. If you have that many people or companies or LLCs putting forth that much money to get a bid, to get a chance, this is a big space, man. This is a massive space. Like Jeff said, this space isn't even untouched. I mean, I said that opposite. This space isn't even touched. It is the we're not even crawling yet. We're just starting to we're just starting to like wiggle a little bit, like the tiniest bit, like maybe see a little bit of a roll. This thing is going to explode. I mean, it's inevitable. I mean, the market segment's huge, and I know people fight against it and stuff. I'm not going to say I'm for it or against it or anything else. I'm just here, just explaining what my experiences are towards it, and I'm talking about the technology and products and stuff. So I'm excited to hear more about Jeff and the actual products and the tech driving, because I really believe, and this is in any market segment, the savvy companies that can onboard customers, communicate with them clearly, efficiently, effectively within the regulations, and continue to provide them with products and or services or upsell items is going to win here. And I hope Jeff's company is that one. I look forward to much success for you, Jeff. So, and learning more as we go on.
Thanks.
Awesome. No, I mean, I think you're totally right, Brandon. Any new industry has that adoption curve. And, probably 3 to 5 years ago, a lot of it was just getting the foundation in place to even be able to, cultivate the raw material that drives a lot of the industry and, the initial legalization and obviously all the developments and progression in Colorado as, trying to lead the charge on what it can offer and how that tax revenue and the benefits of the industry growth can impact, the whole state itself. And I think just like you said, Brandon, much to the testament of Jeff and, a lot more seasoned people are coming into the space. They're applying, their industry knowledge, and they can see, from food and beverage, right, from pharmaceutical manufacturing, from at the end of the day, you're either delivering a service or you're delivering a good. And a lot of people are seeing the opportunity, to bring that quality and expertise to a whole new playing field, where there's still a lot of growth and room to plant your own flag. And of course, the best part is it's, a very open and pretty connected community as well. So a lot of people, love to empower each other, which I've seen, as we've begun to work in the space. So Jeff, enough on the overview of the industry itself. Definitely want to dive, more into DynaVap, the products and, where you guys and your journey are going. But I think, the most important element to touch on is, really the core foundation, technology that you guys are implementing in each one of your products, focusing specifically on the thermal extraction, side of the process. So would you be able to explain, that whole process a little bit more and, what the benefits are of the product and how that's different from traditional consumption, if you will?
Yeah, absolutely. DynaVap is a unique product in that our creator, George Brewa, didn't like to combust, didn't like to burn. He loved to smoke flower, but he didn't like the burning, the smoking of a bowl or a joint. It was too intrusive. You couldn't do it in a public place. You consumed or you burned off too much of the effect, too much of the value of the product, and the flavor, of course. So he wanted to create something that was kind of easy to use, not complex and somewhat economical, but create a great experience that can give you a variety of vaporization temperatures. So what he did was he created DynaVap. This is our 2020M right here. We got a 2021, don't have one handy. And basically our secret sauce, is it's a vaporizer. Some people refer to it as a bat because the material goes in here, both dry flower and concentrates. And then you basically put this cap on it like this, and you apply heat, whether it be a torch lighter or an induction heater. And I'll show you, this is our induction heater. This is our M, and it clicks at 420 degrees. Now it's time to consume. For the next 15 to 20 seconds, you'll consume and get a vapor flavor and temperature range that really is like no other. There it clicks again. And that second click lets you know it's time to reheat or take a break. So basically the objective was, let's create something inexpensive, not complex. In other words, when you look at some of the other vaporizers out there, and I'll use names, but they're great products. Don't get me wrong. I love Da Vinci and PAX, but the complexity of it, the cost of it, you can't break that product down into the 4 pieces that this is, clean and sterilize it, put it right back together again in 10 minutes and start consuming again. So there's a huge differentiator there in the simplicity, the durability of it. I mean, we've shot this thing in the sky with a rocket. We've run over it with a steamroller, and it's still a functional device. So basically that's kind of it in a nutshell. Battery-free, cartridge-free, combustion-free vaporizing.
No, it's extremely interesting, the process and how they develop the product. I think, as most people can attest to, the most simple products, that simplicity from use, simplicity from explaining what it is, right? They take off pretty quick because they have the benefits, but without a complex process, right?
Right.
And I'm sure a lot of that can kind of play into, of course, the supply chain side, right? And the cost of managing and growing the product. But before we dive into that, I know you guys, have recently continued to release new products. So are most of those new products, iterations for size and container size, and different applications of the same consumption technology? How do you guys view your product roadmaps and bringing out new offerings?
Yeah, George is all about innovation, bringing something new to the market. In the past 5 years, we have had 5 different M's, and our M is our flagship. It's the product we manufacture and distribute around the globe, about 20,000 a month. So basically, in a sense, we take the M and we improve it each year. We also do variants of it and bring forward an Omni. An Omni is a longer adjustable airflow right here and stainless steel tip. What that allows for is a faster heating and faster cool down for optimal flavor. So this is kind of like our Cadillac of the industry. And then we have our Vong G. This is for wood pipes. Wood material, titanium, and it's for your glass water pipes, 10 millimeter and 14 millimeter compatible. So it just slides right on, and you can vaporize dry flower and concentrate via glass pipes and bongs. It's amazing. And then we got a variety of different other things that come out. Every year we release fall colors, just something different, just kind of something crazy. And then we add new lighters. We add new induction heaters. These are 2 years old, and these are just an amazing portable way for you to go camping, fishing, hunting in the woods, and then get 50 cycles out of it before you have to recharge it. So it fits from your pocket, and away you go. So it's, we're trying to find different ways of creating a innovative product in the marketplace.
Certainly. And I think, of course, a lot of companies, especially if they get that first successful product, right? Some of the hardest things can be how do you keep iterating on it and making sure you're not going too far, astray of what the core was that made it successful, while still, adding more lines and, of course, growing your brand in the process. So I'm curious, I know, of course, you're a little bit more on the sales side and the growth of the company, but what is the internal process of, introducing new ideas and trying to constantly innovate on this? Is it always looking at sourcing or complete new products? Or I'm just curious, how they go about generating the ideas.
Yeah, it's kind of an open door. Last year I was involved in rearranging moving our warehousing, optimizing the warehouse flow, and then creating a new pick pack line. Took on a new building and created a new environment. It went great. Now we have this scalability to do 10 times the volume we do today, just in the general arrangement of the flow. Before we were getting up, going to a bin, bringing it back to a table, packing it, going. It's like you're going back and forth to the grocery store versus having it all in line as you're going down to pick an order. 1M, 1 Omni, boom, and you're going down the line right out to the pack out station.
Very cool. No, that's very interesting. And I think a lot of the things when it comes to the products and, it's really cool to look at your guys' diversity of the products, from the new colors but it seems like every time you're looking for like that 1%, like you said, like the different thermal heating, what can store, more battery length. And I'm sure, of course, technology obviously plays a role in it when it comes to the actual, battery devices and as those progress as well. So over the next, 3 to 5 years, you guys see, the hardware and a lot of the materials that you guys utilize in your products continuing to advance as well. And that'll let you, continue to iterate on the advancements that others are creating also.
Absolutely. Gosh, in the last 5 years, we've went from glass to wood to titanium, stainless steel. We used to have just one device. Now we have as many as 7 devices. And we got about 50 some SKUs of accessories, whether it be a stash, a torch lighter, or something along those lines. So we want to be able to create a one-stop shop for our customers. In 2021, 2022, 2020, we grew so much. I mean, we were Inc. 500 company both years in a row. We had somewhere in the range of 1,000%. Managing that is really the toughest. We're trying to get our hands around that, but we're still rolling forward. And what are we at? 75 associates. We're in 3 buildings, corporate office, production and post-production. And then we also have warehousing and fulfillment. So we're still kicking and grinning, and we're leveraging everything we can. We're looking at the future being something along the lines of, dispensaries. Now we're seeing dispensaries get into high value devices. So when you sell, maybe a couple ounces of quality flower, why not consume it with a quality device versus rolling it up in a joint or a glass pipe? So they're seeing value in that because it presents a better value of their product flavor wise. We're seeing multi-state operators and integrated companies coming around all over the place. So we're trying to really penetrate those folks and get into all their locations as dispensaries. And then, C-stores. Quick Trip here in the state of Wisconsin. That conversation's going on. Big box retail. Some of these, Walmart, one of these days is going to have these devices and all kinds of cannabis-related products. So, there's so much more for, room to grow. And I think last week at MJ Biz, they said, I think it was 45 million consumers of cannabis on a daily basis. 45 million consumers, and that's untouched for us. We probably sell, 250,000 devices in 6-month window. I mean, we're not touching anything really.
No, it's interesting, and I'm not shocked by that number, which is surprising. I think a lot more people are starting to find the benefits. A lot more health and wellness companies as well. Not that there's anything wrong with direct consumption, but for some people they don't want to consume, they don't like combustion, or they just don't really understand the idea and still think it's taboo. So it's interesting. A lot of the products more on the CBD side, right? The health creams, right? The things for back pains, but people are starting to see the healthier alternatives, right, with it that can be sourced from this industry. And I think that's just going to, continue to grow the adoption of, new consumers that will just continue to tally to that number.
And you think about the new consumer in the marketplace, you take a product like this, you can microdose, you put your material in there, you use an induction heater like this. And, basically in a sense, they can do 1 draw or 2 draws and put it down. It's a nice small device. There's no fumes. There's no smoke, just vapor and great taste.
Jeff, how do you see this comparing to like a beer or alcohol from a long, long time ago when it was in the, when it was allowed and then went into prohibition and then went with all the rules and regulations and stuff? Do you compare yourself a little bit to that market segment, or do you see it as kind of chopping away at that? Because we have 3 kids, and I know that I would think, and again, I'm biased here or anything else like that, but I would think some of the kids would prefer cannabis over alcohol. That would be their first choice over alcohol, just from having kids myself, just from seeing different trends and stuff like that. Do you see that, or what's your feeling on? Well, first, I guess I hit you with 2 questions. So what's your first in the comparison versus the alcohol? And then what do you see? Do you see the trends with 18, 19, 21-year-old? Obviously you need to be legal to do that, but to go in and buy something, but just say 21 and above, do you see that trend more of, hey, I'm going to smoke rather than drink, or,
To answer your first question, I know I'm old, but I don't know what was happening coming out of prohibition. So I really don't know how the regulation was going on. But I really can't answer to that. But in your second question, you're absolutely right. I think the youth prefer to consume flower and concentrates over alcohol. The problem is, with some of the regulation going on today as a result of the last 2 years issues as it relates to synthetic cartridges. You guys may have heard the stuff that was going on. People were getting bad congestion. People actually died. But those were those are black market cartridges where they use synthetic materials. The cartridges, that you see in the store, that's not an all natural cannabis in the dispensaries. There's fillers and synthetics that go into it. You have to use an actual concentrate. That's not a prepackaged. They add material to make it more viscous and just more oily for consumption. The fear is, like the vape mail ban that's in place, is UPS, DHL, and UPS or USPS are not distributing cartridge or battery operated vaporizers today because of that vape mail ban or that vape issue that happened last year or 2 years ago. The kids were getting these things dirt cheap. Some of the manufacturers out there, not naming any names, they would sell these things literally for $1 and get a BOGO, buy one, get one. And I just saw an article in HQ Madison magazine that showed that one major vertical integrated company, buy one of these electronic vapes, get one free for $1. I mean, kids can get this anywhere if it's being distributed at that low price point.
Yeah. What is the age in Pennsylvania or New Jersey? Is it 8 or 21, or are you familiar with the?
We're
what
in
are the ages
Wisconsin.
to be able to buy something? 18 or 21?
I think it's 21.
Yeah.
I believe so.
Across
it is
the board. Okay. Yeah, I don't smoke cigarettes either, so I don't know. I think that's 21 as well, or is that 18? But I don't even know. That's why I have no clue. I have to ask my wife.
Yeah, I think they ratcheted them all up to 21.
21.
Recently.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So when we're talking about kids, we're talking about 21 plus. So
young adults.
Yeah, young adults. Yes. Yes.
Definitely. And no, I think it's, obviously the consumer side will push it like they do, in a lot. As they continue to push the adoption, there's more consumers, then the rest are falling in line to hopefully, keep the consumers safe. But Jeff, just curious, as I think a big benefit, for your guys' product, right, is you don't have to be involved in the actual regulation of the raw material of the flower, right? Those that are in the cultivation side or the dispensary side, I know there's a lot more, obviously, regulations around the seed to sale tracking and, knowing where all the materials are going at different times. But for you guys, since you don't have batteries in your cartridges, you can mail them, right, to anywhere, ship without restrictions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and then of course, Oh, perfect. Yeah, so I mean that's that side, and then of course you're more of the the device and the mechanism to consume. So at the end of the day, you guys don't really have to worry about the regulation side too much because you're more of a a hard consumer product. Is that fair?
Well, it's a device. So supply chain track and tracing is critical. We're just getting into that. It's not a requirement. It's if the device, for example, ISO is a must. So you can track and trace from the time you source, from the time it's consumed, basically. There's no medical device in cannabis today, but ours is clearly the closest one, in my opinion. But anyways, no, we're trying to track and trace and do all that. We do lot tracking, all that kind of good stuff. So we're getting closer and closer to kind of clean our business up, those are some good steps for us.
Hey Jeff, in terms of technology, do you see your technology spend increasing exponentially due to regulations that keep being put upon you in terms of quality, in terms of deliverables and stuff like that? Because I see that I know just from other experiences with similar companies that they've, what happens is that the regulations come in and the smaller companies can't pay what it needs to get approvals anymore. So they fall by the wayside, and the larger companies which have had success like yours has that money. Do you see your technology spend increasing though? It is of that type of stuff, even in the manufacturing facilities, the way things need to be done with, suits or clothing or mask, and it's like a professional facility. This is not like a place working out of a garage here. This is like a medical facility almost.
Well, I mean, we're not a medical grade device. We don't have clean rooms. our associate in assembly, they all wear gloves.
Yes.
They wear face masks based on COVID. But we try to practice what best practices are available to us today. And what I mean by that is there's no constraints on us. And to get to your question about technology driving that cost, it's not the case. The technology is driving based on our business growth. We just had to upgrade to another ERP. But these ERPs in small and growing companies, we're probably using 15% of it.
Yeah.
We don't use a WMS, we don't use an ERP or planning, and we don't have a TMS, which we definitely, that's big ROI right there. We do use a CRM, but these are all, that's a reactive thing for us, much like as the ERP. Nobody is pushing us in a direction. We just need something a little bit more robust. Did that answer your question?
Yeah. And those are all things that cost a lot of money. You mentioned CRM. I mean, a CRM, it's like, oh, it's $50 per user. And then you add up 75 users or 50 users and you're at, $5-10 grand a month just in licensing. And then you have support behind that. Then you have emails, then you have this. And it's for anybody running a small business, it's not easy is what I'm trying to say. Like, especially if you're on the Inc. 5000 list or Inc. 500 or whichever one, that size company is typically doing I'm just kind of educating the audience here, but that size company is typically doing anywhere from $1 million to $100 million a year in business with rapid growth. Like you say, 1,000% or around there growth. That's that type of growth. You're just running, as my friend says, I feel like I'm running with scissors. That's what he says. Like you're just running all day long. You're trying to catch up. You just chase, how do you do it in terms of what you're going to, where are you going to go? Because a QuickBooks doesn't work. So then you need to switch to a NetSuite, and then the NetSuite is, tens of thousands of dollars per, right. And then you're just like, what the frick? When does it stop? Where do you start and where are you at now? Kind of, if you can explain that.
Well, you just described it, the QuickBooks and the NetSuite. I mean, you nailed it right there. The thing of it, we're 5 years old, and literally in the last 3 years, it's just gone crazy. But I'm trying to push for a TMS. We see the return on investment. Basically, it's self-funded. It pays for itself. So after a certain point, it's free money. Warehouse management, pushing for the RF process. Scan on the inbound, scan on the outbound. A lot of our customers are getting more savvy that their inbounds are all UPC labeled, scan on receipt. So when they scan it, they know exactly what's in there, what's a quantity, and they know where to slot it. They put it away, and then when it's put away, it's scanned on the pick. So it takes all the question out of it. You don't even really have to see it or look at it. You just scan it, pick it, pack it, ship it.
Yeah. Yeah, I like it. That's what you have to do. And that's what I was talking about a couple minutes ago, which is the savvy companies that are doing this and that are tracking and have people like yourself running them are going to naturally get ahead. The ones that don't, like if you don't know what you're doing, you're going to get smoked. And no pun intended in this business. You will, like the truth is going to come out. Yeah, that's the bottom line. So, if you're thinking about getting into this industry, if you're thinking about perhaps coming up with a product, a service, anything to support it, just know that you're in there with a super competitive market that people know what they're doing today. It's not like it was 3, 4, 5 years ago, even a year ago. I mean, do you see that type of trend coming on where it's really getting competitive in terms of talent?
Well, talent, to just kind of follow up on that, with regards to third-party logistics and outsourcing warehousing, that industry with your major retailers and Walmarts and those kind of folks, chargebacks was a weekly issue, a cost that ranged anywhere, could have been 6 digits on a monthly basis, just because a label wasn't put in the right place, a mishack, a misship, the littlest things, they'll sock you $50 every time it happens. And that's starting to creep in to our industry. Some of the larger players, they have in their commercial terms, 50 or more chargebacks. We wouldn't sign those because we really can't comply, and they can't expect anybody in the industry to comply. The other one that's coming up here is slotting, trying to pay for our shelf space, securing that shelf space. This is maybe 3, 4, 5 or more years out, but it is going to come, and it's gonna get costly if we don't get our act together.
Yeah, it's always interesting to learn. I'm sorry if I'm pounding you with a couple questions here,
No,
but
go
I'm
ahead.
interested because from a business perspective, it doesn't matter if we're talking about widgets, wadgets, whatever we're talking about. I mean, I always like to learn. I know Brian's the same way, and especially with the technology on the back end. Like, how are you tying it all together and going to make it work? I guess in terms of the CRM and stuff like that, in terms of that tech, like, how do you, I guess you can blackball people or whatever else if someone puts a fake order in and stuff like that. And then the other piece is payments. How do you, how do you capture the pay? I know some of the payment processors in terms of tech, we're steering away from this market. So do you self-fund it, or do you run through one of the major carriers? Yeah, and I don't want any names or anything else like that.
No, that's a great question.
Yeah.
It's continuing to evolve. Some of the major financial institutions are getting back in, but we've started out from day one. We qualify our customers. They have to
Yeah.
complete an application. And once they're approved, they place orders, they pay in advance, whether it be ACH, wire, or credit card. Once it's paid for, then we pack and ship it. So we don't have any issues with that. We have no terms. There's a couple of large customers that have payment terms, but they've been with us for years. But it's a simple and low risk model.
Yeah. Good.
That's awesome. No, I think, interestingly enough, Jeff, maybe you can attest to it. You've been at a lot of events recently, but, even what I've seen is a lot of the people that do enter the cannabis space, they tend to have a strong awareness, to how they could apply technology. Maybe not that, this is what I need an ERP, right? But they don't know that, but they tend to be a little bit, of a younger demographic. If they're launching it, right, they're a little bit more technology inclined, and they tend to look for, I know I could be doing this better with technology. I'm just not sure how.
Well, that's not us. Our guys are great. They're fun. They're smart. They're geniuses. But I don't think they ever stopped once in their first year saying we need technology. I know they were probably like, "Hey, man, we got to get some CAD design, CAD capability so we can design this cool stuff. We got to get 4D imaging or whatever. They got all the cool stuff, but none of it was business management or business process related."
Yeah, it was more on the product development side and loving the innovation there, but not paying attention to how we're going to get it to people, or, in a cleaner way and remove some friction points.
And we wouldn't be here right now if it wasn't for those guys, what they did. We're here.
Yeah, certainly.
It sounds like you're a tech company that's just in this service. Obviously, there was a dream, a vision to do it, but it sounds like, your technology is what makes you unique versus the competition out there. If not, nobody else is doing this. So do you patent that? Do you have a patent on that technology, or someone else have a patent, or what's the process in terms of that?
No, but you're right. On the front end, we are extremely smart. George, our fearless leader, the guy, you sit down with him and he's just, wow, blow your mind. I think the first thing he did was he went out and after we first got started was hire a couple of we've got two what do you call AV engineers. We got space engineers. What do you call them?
Oh, you're talking to the wrong guy here. I don't know. I think I've been to space.
Aeronautical engineering or something.
Yeah, there you go.
Two young guys right out of engineering school, smart as smart can be. And we ended up having 4, and now I think we've got 5. But those are the guys who do all the innovations. And they could be working at NASA for all I know, but these are the guys at the front end that are creating this and making us so unique.
Wow. And when you go to shows, I guess they're when this shows very well the product, right? So I'm sure that when you go to in-person show, are you doing in-person shows again? Were you doing virtual? So either way, the product is going to show very well because it sits on the table, it stands up. Everybody else has their stuff laying on the table flat. Or in some cardboard box. Yours is standing up. You're at, so you already have a competitive advantage there. But what is the like when people come through? They're immediately saying, wow, this is really cool, or do most people have a familiarity with the product before they come up to your booth, or what's your
that's a great question. Today I bet you we have 0.005% of the marketplace. Our product is in that's shops. you'll be out in the booth and you'll say, out in front of the booth, say battery-free vaporizer. People just, oh, how much is it? And they run away after price, which is a shortfall. But then they'll look at it and go, God, I've never seen something like this. So we've been at it doing shows now for 3 years. And I want to say 1 in 15 people are familiar with our device and have never purchased it, but they've heard about it. I'd say probably 1 in 25 people have actually used it or purchased. And, the remainder of the people, it's just like, wow, what's that? The response is really cool. It's something different. And they always are saying, we were looking for something new in our shops. But the darn thing is that conversion of talking to them at the show, getting them excited, giving them a sample, and then trying to get them to do the application is a tough part. Even when you get them to do the application and then you onboard them, getting them to buy it is very difficult. I don't know if it's because they're a one-shop operator. They look at it as too expensive. Cash flow is not good right now. But boy, I tell you what, first impression, people love it. Yeah. The actual taking action on it is not remotely close.
Yeah, I know my mom's shop. I think she used to carry what was called a Calibri lighter. So you have the Zappo lighter, I guess, which is the kind of the normal lighter. Well, it's not the normal; it's above average lighter. And then I think she carried a Calibri lighter. This may be the incorrect name, but it was like 2 or 3 times the amount. So you were looking at $150 to $200 for this lighter. And she specifically carried them because that gave her shop a competitive advantage. If someone's just selling the same stuff that everybody else is selling, and you're in that low tier market, you're never going to be able to keep up. It's like discounting products, you're always going to be that low cost seller. So if you're positioning yourself as that, stop, and really build some value for yourself by selling value in higher quality products. Because if you get in that low tier, you're going to be selling against products coming over from China for $1 versus, $30, $40, $100. You're never going to win that battle. So I'm not talking to you, Jeff, obviously, I'm just speaking out loud, but so sell value in what you do. If you're a small shop owner or somebody that's watching this or get into, go big, always. If you're going to sell something, sell Learjets, don't sell puddle jumpers. You know what I'm saying? If you're going to sell a boat, don't sell an 18-foot Boston Whaler. Go for the yachts, go for the big sale. So that's the way you build value, man. And you get in that market and then you start rolling. I have a feeling you sell value to very, very good customers and form great relationships because they come to you as this source of money for them. So they're selling one product and making, $30. Obviously they're charging them 3 times as much rather than selling 10 products and making the same amount of money.
Yeah,
does that sound?
That's a great analogy, but you got to think about the product positioning point of view. Your mom's got a tobacco shop. Tobacco is a very mature industry. Tobacco cigar consumers are probably higher income folks, where $150 lighter is probably, okay, great. Now we're in cannabis. You go into a head shop or something and you got a $5 glass pipe, a $2 pack of easy whiters or whatever. And, you look at a bong, maybe $20 or something like that. And then you got this, well, that's expensive, and then we do have lighters that are $85 these as low as $8. So
yeah,
it's a different business or marketplace, different consumer.
Yeah, for sure. I'm going to go plug my computer in real quick. I'll be right back.
You got it. No, but I think we dove a lot in on the product side, Jeff, and like you said, you guys have a lot of great talent for pushing the product. But it can be hard in any of the early companies, especially product companies, because the core is the product itself to start all the conversations around the back office, right, and how to connect and implement technology, from that level and that direction of the business. So I'm just curious, as you join the team and as you guys have obviously now been continuing to implement more technology, how did you guys kind of foster those initial conversations and, know it was time outside of, needing more time and efficiency overall?
Boy, it's all growth driven. I hate to say it, but we were very reactive and we still are today. It's just, we need a bigger ERP, a more robust ERP. Okay, let's do this. We need to upgrade our website. We need something a little bit more robust, user friendly, more capability and what have you. we went out and did that. Another technology piece I didn't mention is in our industry, specifically our product, education is key. So we've sourced an LMS, learning management software.
Yep.
Called Spark, and created a platform called Higher Education for training our wholesale partners, associates. So, gosh, it really, I hate to say it, but everything has been reactive to try to backfill and support the growth.
Correct. No, and that makes a lot of sense. But I mean, I think that's where a lot of businesses start, right? At some point, you kind of get forced where you either need more people, right? Where the expense of hiring more people is not worth it. So then your next source is giving the people better tools. And I think a lot of, companies start to implement their core technologies and get that foundation in place in more of a reactive approach, right? And then from there, once they can try to get ahead of the curve a bit, you can be, a little bit more pick and choosy of where you want to implement technology and where it's going to have the biggest impact. But I think even with you, being reactive, you probably want a lot of things, right? Like, I wish we had this better, this better, this better, this better. But in the state of, high pace, high growth, focusing on product iterations as well, how do you guys go about identifying, where the best value is for the business? Like, yes, you need these three things, but we can only do, one right now. How do you go about, identifying the velocity of all the technology you're going to implement versus the impact it can have to your business itself?
Oof. Oh man, where do I start? It's, I guess I go back to the ERP. We've got, I think it's 8 different CNC machines that our innovation people design, and we produce these items right in Wisconsin. We wanted to make sure we could help in planning, manage that a little better. I think that was one of the reasons what drove the ERP. It was mostly financial, managing the growth. Gosh, I wish I had a better answer for you, but we're so limited on a technology side today. I really don't have a good answer for you, man.
That's fair.
No, that's a good start. That's a good start. That is the right answer. You just gotta keep going. You just start walking, and that's what happens in business when you're growing. For any small business, we have a lot of small business owners that watch this and stuff, and that's what happens, man. You just head in the direction, and sometimes you get a left, sometimes you get a right. You run into a freaking dead end, and you just keep going, man. That's the bottom line, man. You keep the feet moving like a football player in the front line. Yeah. Not that I play football, but
Yeah. That was my wife crawling into the bathroom.
Oh no, I didn't even see.
That's right. It's all right, man.
Yeah.
All right, so man. Go ahead.
No, that's perfect. I think, we really dived in on the technology side. Obviously for any youthful company, as you're trying to assess technology, a lot of it will be, on the edge of your seat and getting what's going to help you now. But if the growth keeps, if it keeps continuing, you're probably going to switch it out anyway. So I think more of it's just, how you view technology for your business, right? And it's not going to be the answer to solve everything, but it can be a tool to be utilized. And it seems like obviously, your team is aware of that now. Now it's just around, finding the best tools, the best ways to implement them while still, controlling all the growth that, can come in and you can't always control what's going on day to day. So yeah, I think, we really tied it in on the technology side. When it comes just back, go ahead.
If you don't mind, I mean, I don't mean to make light of it, but technology can do so many things for a company, and really you got to start with the basic business process and principles around things as it relates to material flows and believing in living and breathing. Although it may be manual, you have to take it on, own it, and manage it accordingly. So material flow, inventory management. Granted, with technology, they can be better, but you have to start somewhere, and it always starts physically. So, we still got to take those steps to get our hands around it to actually make technology work. And it's all about big data. And if you don't have big data, technology isn't going to do much for you.
Correct. No, I think that was a great point to, emphasis, because a lot of people, they think they're going to get a technology. It has all the features, of inventory management, tracking, compliance. But if you don't actually configure the features and have a predetermined workflow and everybody knows what's going on in the business, it's like they say, it's, good in, good out, garbage in, garbage out. If it's not a good process, you're just going to feel it a lot faster on the technology side and add a whole nother layer of confusion on top of, an undefined process.
If you don't own it from a physical process, everybody's got to own it, whether it be ownership, management, and the associates on the floor. If they don't own it from a physical side, technology is not going to do you any good.
And even if you have the best technology, I've seen so many companies invest in the next shiny, the next greatest thing to earth, the next greatest technology. It just doesn't work for them in some cases, and they get in over their head and just get screwed. I don't know how else to say it, but they just get knocked around and bled to death by services, by support. I always say, just keep it dead simple. I love what you said, Jeff, in terms of just, set the process up in a manual way. And I think this is what you said, set it up in a manual way and run it and just go through it. And then obviously as you see it go over the weeks or months, you can go and say, hey, we can automate this process, or we can automate this process. Where I see companies get into trouble is they come out of the chute and without ever physically doing it, and it looks great on a whiteboard and it looks pretty and it sells in boardrooms. But in reality, it's never going to work because there's one or two pieces that won't tie everything together. And then we try to tie in Oracle, and then we try to tie in all these different big databases together, and they're going to talk and they're going to sync. It gets very confusing, gets very expensive. And that's why I use someone like Brian and his team to kind of tie all this together. But it's a shameless plug for Brian. But yeah, it just gets confusing, man. So I always recommend anybody that's watching this is going to watch the replay or whatever else, don't always just jump on the next shiny object flying through the shooting star. There are a lot of them. There are a lot of good sales reps out there. Definitely walk it through, slow down to speed up. As I always say, slow down, go through the process, set things up properly, and walk through it yourself with, every step of the way in a physical way. Even if you're whiteboarding it, take your feet and go, okay, I'm going to move 3 feet here. Okay, I'm going to move 4 feet here. Okay, this machine's going to be here. You'll learn a lot before you blow, 7 figures, and you can blow 7 figures in as fast as I snap my hands right there in a second.
Yeah.
So
it's just,
if you want to keep your job, walk it.
Warehouse management in third-party industries or in CPG literally would disable companies if a startup didn't go live. The lights would go out and nobody would know what to do. So if you don't physically know how to manage your material flow, don't buy any technology.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
No, hey, we wouldn't be ready to work with you if there's not a process on paper yet.
Yeah.
No, but that's great. I think, that's a really good place to tie it all together. Jeff, we definitely want to have you back on, as we follow the DynaVap journey and as you guys scale and throw in a little bit more technology for us to dive into. We'd love to hear about the journey, and as the business grows, it's going to be great to follow. So I just really want to thank you, obviously, from Brandon and I for coming on today. I think we, really help gain awareness of a new industry, and hope a lot of more people go check out your guys' products and see all the change that's coming from the cannabis industries and great innovative companies like yourself. Just want to give you the chance to, fill in here at the end. Where should people go to check out the products, find you guys on social, and buy their first DynaVap?
Yeah, thanks. I'm really grateful to be on this live cast. We've been blessed. We are very happy people. We've got great people. We love what we're doing, and we love you guys to be a part of it. So if you want to try something, give me a call. You can reach me at jeff@dynavap.com, DYNAVAP. Our website is www.dynavap.com. Check us out on Reddit, Google, YouTube. We've got so many consumers that say so many wonderful things. They're our best marketing tool out there. And just send me an email. I'll send you a sample if you're a consumer. Check it out and see what you think. Tell your friends and family.
Hey,
Perfect.
I'm sure I'll be telling my mom about you, Jeff. I'm sure you'll be getting an email tomorrow. JT.
Seriously.
I'll make that connection for you.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Awesome. And everything else will be in the show notes below. So thank you guys again for joining on another episode of the Digital Journey podcast. And we'll catch you in 2 Wednesdays from now. Have a great night.
Peace.